Hello and welcome back. This is the third part of this series. If you haven't watched the first and second part, then you would not be able to know what's going on. So I strongly recommend that. So let's get started now. So in the last video, we were able to extract the HTML from the page, but the error that we stumbled upon was that we have the HTML page here. If I open it with live server, then as you can see, it opens normally, and we do not have all the reels here. This is not the amount of reels this account has. This is a official account of a famous singer, and he has quite a lot of reels. And here I'm able to see only 20 or maybe 19 of the reels, and this does not include all the reels. So in order to do that, firstly we need to know how Instagram's reeling mechanism works, how it reloads the page. So Instagram has this feature that is on-page reloading. So what is on-page reload? On-page reload means that for the page to reload, you would not have to refresh your browser. It's just that the JavaScript will reload the content of the page or add additional content to the page by itself. Let me demonstrate what I mean. So if we open the exact account, that will be instagram.com/Diljit Dosanjh, and we need to open the Reels section. And as you can see here, from the scroll bar, you can see that the length of the page is this much. The length of the page, so the scroll bar's height tells it all. But as I scroll down, the scroll bar shrinks and the height of the page increases. What does that mean? That clearly means that the page is being loaded. New data is being appended to the page. So the height of the page is being appended with new reels. So this time I'm gonna scroll really fast. As you can see, new reels are being loaded, and they are being loaded into the page. This is called on-page reloading, and it can be achieved with the help of libraries or frameworks like React, because they have this feature built in, or you can use other components, but that's not our topic. So how can we handle this? We need to get the data of all of these reels, all of the reels, these all reels. So first we will have to wait for the page to load. What we can do is we can basically do the same thing. We can go to the page like this. So our bot will go to the page like this, and then we can do one thing. We can make our Python script scroll on the page. So we can do this with the help of the bot. We will have to tell our Python script at what extent does it need to scroll, like to 100 or to 90. So like this, it will do all of this on its own. So we just need to implement that. So let's do that. Let's do the implementation. We can close this file, and here is our main.py, and we left right here in the last lecture or in the last part. So instead of directly getting the page content, because that will include just the few beginning of the reels, we need to get all the reels, and for achieving that we need to scroll to the bottom of the page. So what we can do is, this account is an official account of a star, so we cannot use this because this has way too much amount of reels and it will take us a lot of time. So I found a new account that will be good for our testing purposes. This is just a random account that I found. I don't know this person. I don't know who the owner of this account is. But as we scroll, the reels are loaded, and as we scroll again, the reels are being loaded, and it will stop after some time. As you can see, it stops here. And these many reels are not much. So this will do for our testing purposes, because for now we are just testing the application. So we will not use this, but we will use this account for our testing purposes. So let's replace the URL with the newly copied one. I don't know how to pronounce this username. Let me increase the text size, and what we can do is, instead of getting the page content right away, we can call a new function, and that function we're going to define it here. Define scroll to bottom, and it will take one parameter that will be the page object, this one. So this function will help us scroll to the bottom of the page using Playwright's inbuilt functions. So what we can do is, we can get the page HTML right here, and then we will scroll to the bottom of the page and then append the new HTML to the existing HTML, and scroll to the bottom of the page again, and just keep doing it. We can simply do is, we can get the current height, that will be previous height, or we can also say current height. It will be page.evaluate. So to get the current height of the page, we can use a inbuilt property of the browser, that will be document.body.scroll_height. Okay, so this will get us the height of the page. Then we will have a while loop ready, and this while loop will help us scroll again and again. And then we will scroll to the bottom of the page. We will do that using page.evaluate, an inbuilt property from Playwright, and we will use window.scroll to, and here we are supposed to give the amount that we want to scroll the page to. So we will say 100, so it will go to the bottom of the page, and we need to also pass the scroll height. We will get the HTML content of the page again and append it to the HTML variable. So this will overlap the content. The previous content and the new content will be overlapped. And then we will evaluate the page again. We will try to scroll again. We will scroll 2 times. Instead of checking the page height again and again, we will try to scroll 2 times, and then we will check the heights. And now we are supposed to check or compare previous height with new one. So here we have the previous height, and then we scrolled to the bottom of the page 2 times, and now we will compare both of the heights. So current height, we will use a new variable, current height, that will do the same thing as this. It will get the height of the page, and then we will compare them. If the current height is equal to the previous height, then we have scrolled to the very bottom of the page, and then we can just return HTML, all the HTML that we got from the page. And if that is not the case, then previous height will be replaced with current height. So previous height's value will, so these both will have same values, and the while loop will start again, and it will get the current height by scrolling 2 times, and then it will compare again, and so on, until we have scrolled to the very bottom of the page. So this should work. So let's just save this. Let me do it like this, save it, and now we just need to call this scroll to bottom. We need to call it here. So instead of getting the HTML from page.content, we will use scroll to bottom and use its output as the HTML, and we will then save it in index1.html file. So we'll create a new file for that, and we will also obviously get the screenshot. So let's try that, and hopefully it works. Okay, so it's simply not happening. Something is wrong here. Okay, it's happening. It just took a while for the page to load. And now it's scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Execution and create a new HTML file. As you can see here, it is pretty big file, so don't try to open it. As you can see, I tried to open this file and you can see all the data that we got. We wrote the HTML again and again and again. So this HTML file is overwritten. It has lots of repeated content. And that's exactly what we need, because we can just use Beautiful Soup to extract all the classes that has particular data. So if I try to open this, then that will be a bad idea. But I surely can, but I won't recommend that. So let's try to open it, and I will stop the execution of the page. And as you can see, I have the top of the page, and then again I have the top of the page with some more reels, and again the top of the page with again more reels. Okay, these one are not loaded, and again top of the page with more and more and more reels. So now let's properly understand how exactly does the page reloading or page appending works. So here I have this page. Currently it is fully loaded with reels. The reels are already loaded. So I'll just reload this page. And here we have the page. So let's determine that this page has a height of 1000 pixels. So right now this page has, it's just a guess, it's not the actual value, but let's just determine that this page has 1000 pixel of height. And what the variable will do, I'm sorry, that's the wrong file. Yeah, this is the right one. So what does this scroll to bottom function do? How does it actually work? So what it will do is, it will, on invocation, it will get the current HTML of the page. So when the page is in this state, it will get its HTML content, that will be all of this. And after getting that, it will record the current height of the page. That will be, for now, 1000 pixel, the one that we just determined. So it is 1000 pixel, and then it will start the while loop. It will scroll to the bottom of the page. Firstly, it will wait for the network to be idle, and after that it will scroll to the bottom of the page 100%. So let's do that. And then it will wait for 1 second, and again wait for the page to load, wait for the network to become idle, and it will get the HTML content. Again, at this point it will extract all the HTML content from this page, and then after getting the HTML, it will again scroll to the bottom of the page 100%. Let me just do this. And after this, it will stop the execution for 1 second, wait for network to become idle, append the HTML of the page into this variable, and then get the current height of the page. So if the current height of the page is 11 or maybe 2000 pixel, or maybe any value that is bigger than 1000 pixel or not equal to 1000 pixel, like here we are checking if 1000 pixel is equal to 2000 pixel, that is the current height is equal to previous height, and if that is true, then we have scrolled to the very bottom of the page, because the scroll only appends the page if there is more content. So right now the height of the page, let's determine that it is 2000 pixel, and at the start it was 1000 pixels, so it has obviously increased. So this if block will not run, and we will go back to the while loop. So we will assign the previous height. The value of current height will be assigned to the previous height variable. So now the 2000 pixel will be inside previous height variable, and then it will scroll again like this, and then maybe after getting the HTML content 2 times and waiting for network to be idle, it will then check the height of the page again, and if it is 2000 pixel like it was in the previous site, then it will stop the execution. But in this case, the page content loads. So let's determine that it is 3000 pixel. So this won't run, and this will happen again. We will go to while loop, and it will continue on until we reach the end of the page. The value becomes 4000 pixels here, and that gets stored in the previous site variable. We go to start of the page again, we scroll 2 times. As you can see, nothing is happening. If I scroll, it will get HTML content of the page here, and it will then check the current height and the previous height. So if the current height matches the previous height, that is in this case true, because we cannot scroll anymore. So it will be 4000 equal 4000. So the execution of the while loop will stop, and we will just return the HTML that we have been collecting so far. And the HTML looks like this. Let's open the HTML that we extracted earlier. This is not it. This is it. And here, as you can see, let me stop the reloading. And here, we first got the content of the page, like at the invocation of function right here, HTML equal page content, and it is right here. This is the content that we extracted at the starting of the execution of function. And then we scrolled again. We started scrolling to the bottom of the page, and then we got the HTML content again. And here we started scrolling again and got the HTML content, and here again. So why don't we just get the HTML content when we have scrolled to the very bottom of the page? Why can't we just get the HTML content from right here? All of this, because we have already loaded the whole page onto the browser. Why can't we do this? Because Instagram has some pretty good optimization techniques. Like right now, I am to the very bottom of the page, and now I have access to all of these reels. So why can't we just extract the HTML content when we are at the end of the page height? Why can't we do that? Well, it's simple actually, because Instagram has some really good optimizations that just removes this content that is above this page, or the one that we don't see. It removes that content in order to save processing power and caches that into the browser. Our own extracted index.html, index1.html actually, that we did right now. And so if I scroll to the very bottom of it, and this is the very bottom, these are the reels that we got from the end of the page. So these are just reloading for now because I have stopped the execution. So these are the reels that we got from the end of the page. You might now think, why can't we just get the HTML content when we have scrolled down to the very bottom of the page? That is because the content above it is empty, as I explained earlier. So if I scroll upside, I keep doing it, and eventually you will get a blank page. You'll get a blank page until you see the profile of the person you are extracting reels from. So this whole blank page is the HTML content that has been removed from your Instagram when it is not in your site. So if I scroll it like this, it becomes visible because it's pretty fast. It comes to the page like in an instant. But when I am sitting here, the content below this and the content above this has been cached and does not have an actual HTML on the web page. The contents have been cached, and it will just reappear when I scroll to the up or down of the page. It's because it's pretty fast. Caching is, pretty fast. So we can't see it, but it does happen. So it affects how we extract the data. So we will have to extract, and we will be able to extract only the data that is visible to our fields. That is why we do this. We scroll every time before extracting data. So here we extract the data, and then we scroll to the bottom of the page, and then we extract the data again, and then we scroll to the bottom of the page, and then we extract data again, and we keep repeating this until we don't have anything to scroll anymore. So until we have scrolled to the very bottom of the page and there is no content to be loaded. So that's why we do this. So now that we have all the HTML content from the page right here, it's a lot of data. We can start working on data extraction that will be achieved using a library called Beautiful Soup. It is a library, basically. It is a Python library that can help us work with HTML content. It's basically a HTML parser. So it will help us get the data from specific classes or IDs. Like, let me demonstrate right here. So if I inspect this and scroll to the very bottom of, scroll to the very top of the page, and if I inspect this reel, it has a class name of -aajy, and I can just search this in our HTML file and I will find similar data. As you can see, I have found 293 similar classes, and we can achieve this same result on the basis of classes, on the basis of IDs, divs, anyway, with the help of Beautiful Soup. It is a pretty good library that is used as HTML parser, and next we will work with this data. So I hope you have enjoyed watching this video. The next part will be the last part that will include working with this data, and of course we can also reduce the amount of data we extract by only extracting this section, the section that contains the reels. To reduce the amount of HTML content we have in here, we can do some optimizations, we can work with the code a little bit, and we can make it better so that we end up with less code in our index1.html, and so that we make the code less bulky. So that will be the work for the next part. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. I hope so. Let's meet in the next video, and that will be the final part of this series. Thanks for watching. See you next time.